Hey guys, Chickpea here. This is going to be a video on the Stoner LMG light machine gun that was added in Title Update 5. To acquire this weapon, you guys can go over to Camp White Oak and complete it, and this will be a reward at the very end. Just remember, if you're in someone else's game and you're not the host, you may not get this weapon due to the fact I'm pretty sure it drops for the host only when they do this mission. So make sure you guys, if you want it from this, make sure you're hosting the mission and it should drop. It can drop though. I've had a few of my friends say that they've had it drop in the mission, so you can acquire this. But if you want it guaranteed, I suggest you host this mission and it should drop as a reward at the very end. The other way to acquire this weapon is going to the various control points and the weapon chests that are located around the whole map. So you guys can go ahead and open those and actually have a chance to get it. One of my friends who hasn't even done the missions opened up a box and got one right away as soon as the update was out. But this is what the LMG looks like. It has a desert tan camo. I do have the Pro sight on here for stability with the Nimble Link rate of fire belt. Due to the fact this is a 200 round mag and I wanted a little bit more RPM due to the fact this gun does not have the Talon Allegro on it. So I went for this to get a little bit more RPM. You can also throw the 35 round or the 50 round large pouch mag if you want to have way more ammunition for this. If you just want to be spitting out bullets forever, then you can have tons and tons and tons of ammunition on top of this. But if you want more reload speed or something like crit damage for a crit build, you can honestly throw these on due to the fact you have a lot of ammunition. I have the angle grip and the Pro sight for the stability due to the fact that I'm going to change the Talon on this weapon eventually, and I'm going to need the stability. The QDC sound suppressor is actually fixed on this weapon. You cannot change it at all, and it gives you 5% damage to elites. So if you guys are wanting to put like a stability or crit damage muzzle, you cannot do this on this weapon due to the fact it is fixed. The damage on this is 16.6. Just remember, this is not an LMG build, so the damage is pretty low. The talent on this is unique, called Overwhelm. Suppressing an enemy that is not currently suppressed grants 5% weapon damage for 10 seconds. Max stack is 5. The accurate talent, which gives you 15% accuracy. I was hoping I'd get something that'd be at least stable, or Allegro or something like that, or even extra to get more ammunition without having to use a mag. I prefer Allegro on here to get the way more higher RPM due to the fact that the LMGs have a little bit slower RPM. Greased while holstered weapon swap speed is increased by 10%. One thing I will say about this weapon is that you will be lacking a little bit of damage due to the fact that there's way more ammunition, and I will be comparing this to a few other guns. The first gun I'm going to compare this to is actually in my stash box, which is all the way down here. And this is the pretty much main LMG that everyone uses. This is the Black Market M60, or the M60 in general. The classic, whatever you want to call it. People use these because it's one of the hardest hitting LMGs in the game. The RPM is lower, obviously, and the magazine size capacity is lower. But 200 rounds and up to 250 rounds is a lot of ammo, which is what I think has going for the Stoner LMG. And I'm a big fan of the Stoner LMG from Wildlands and from the Black Ops series, which was back in the day. They had a Stoner LMG in there, and a few games like Armor that have it as well. But you can see the talents on this are different, obviously. The fact that it has Unhinged and Allegro. You can actually get 20% more weapon damage if you actually took off Overwhelm and put Unhinged on there, and you'd be increasing your damage way more. But the M60 is actually the highest, I think, hitting LMG in the game at the moment. Pretty much that's what all my friends have said. They said that it's the hardest hitting. I'm pretty sure you could probably get the Stoner to hit really hard. There's also a few other guns as well that hit pretty similar, but I think the M60 is still probably the best damage, but if you want more rounds and a little bit more RPM, you can obviously go for the Stoner, which I think is what actually has it going for right now. Another gun which I will compare it to is actually probably my favorite, or second favorite in the game at the moment besides the Stoner, is the M249. This is the main LMG I usually use due to the fact it has a little bit higher RPM than the M60, and it does have a little bit less damage, but you can have the same amount of rounds as the M60 on this as well. So this is the one I've been using. It has Unhinged and Allegro, and you can actually get the RPM up a little bit higher on this if you had something like the Nimble Link belt, and if you had Allegro on the Stoner, you can get it up higher as well. I'm just telling you guys this because this gun does lack a little bit of damage, but I'm pretty sure you can get up there in damage, probably maybe close, in the 20k area-ish, somewhere around there, or even higher, which I think is possible. But you guys are going to need certain, attachments, or certain mods, that have high LMG rolls and also have high weapon damage rolls to make this gun actually work. In general, the gun is pretty stable. It's not too crazy. But once you throw something like Unhinged on there, it's most likely going to, be all over the place with your weapon damage. One thing you can combine this with, which I think actually might make this gun really, actually probably a little bit, better or stronger, is something like the On the Ropes talent, Spotter, or even Berserk, which if a lot of people do not know this, but you can now use LMGs on the Berserk, which personally I never really noticed if this was a thing or not. Due to the fact that most people used assault rifles with Berserk, but now that a lot of my friends are saying this is a new thing, which I wasn't aware of, to be honest. You can now use LMGs with this, and that's something that I never really noticed. I never thought you could really use LMGs with Berserk or not, and I was always assault rifle person and always just used it. So you guys can actually use this and make an LMG Berserk build if you guys really want, and use that for a little bit more damage. You can obviously make this go up way higher if you really want. One thing I will show you is this weapon damage, which gives you 20% due to the fact I have a 10% roll on here. You can see it goes up to about 17.7, which is still a little bit low. Or if you do something on like these gloves, which I have right here, which don't have devastating on, they do have 12% LMG damage, which you guys can see it goes up to 19, so you can get this up to about 20k, maybe a little bit higher than that, but just don't expect it to be something like the M249, which is now at like 30, so it's obviously going to be higher due to the fact that the ammunition count in the Stoner is way higher than the ammunition count in something like the M60 or the M249. You can see here this is at 32.5, and I don't really use LMG builds that much at all because I'm not much of an LMG fan. I prefer guns that are a little bit faster and have way more RPM than an LMG, but the LMG at the Stoner I think is a great addition to the game, and I think it's something that a lot of people are going to be using due to the fact that it's new, and it's also not that bad of a gun due to the fact it has a pretty cool talent and also has a lot of ammunition, which I think is the main thing that's actually going for this gun. And overall, my opinion on this is pretty solid. I think it's not a complete loss compared to some of the other guns in this game, potentially maybe like the Carbine 7, which I'm a little bit disappointed in, which you guys can see my other video in the recommended feed, or if you guys want to check it at the very end of the video, I will post it there as well. Thank you guys all for watching. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next one, and make sure you guys subscribe for more Division 2 content.
We had the training. We fought to protect the weak. But training doesn't prepare you to hunt someone you used to call brother. He has left us no other choice. If we don't stop him, there will be nothing left to save.